So everybody, Apple's Glow Time event has come and gone, iPadOS 18 is finally available to the public, and you're probably installing it as we speak right now, and you want to find out exactly what's going on and what's new with your iPad. So in this video, we're going to go over every single feature and change that's happened to iPadOS 18. Let's get into it. So a couple of quick housekeeping calls. I do want to mention all the supported devices that will be able to get iPadOS 18. So we're talking about all the iPad Pros from 2018 and newer, so that new form factor, both on the 11 and the 12.9 inch. And then from an iPad Air perspective, of course, the new M2 iPad Air will be there, but then also iPad Air 3rd gen and newer. Then we have the regular iPad, so that's the iPad 7th gen and newer. And finally, the iPad mini, which is the 5th gen and newer, will support iPadOS 18. And with iPadOS 18, there will be 0 Apple Intelligence features. That is going to be saved for iPadOS 18.1, so don't expect any AI features no matter which iPad you have. But now, before we get started, a quick word from our sponsor, Paperlike. Paperlike was one of the first iPad accessories that I'd ever tried. The moment that I got my 2018 iPad Pro, I knew I'd have to get the screen protector, and it never disappointed. So now, 5 years later, Paperlike has just released their new version 2.1, or their Swiss Paperlike. Paperlike's proprietary nanodots are tiny microbeads that add resistance and improve haptic feedback when using the Apple Pencil on your iPad, mimicking the feel of writing on paper. The new nano texture display on the 2024 iPad Pros does reduce glare but doesn't actually enhance the haptic feedback for the Apple Pencil, so for a paper-like feel and better Apple Pencil experience, Paperlike is still the best choice. But they recently decided to bring their iPad accessory expertise and create a new premium folio case for the iPad Pro and iPad Air. Their new charcoal folio case aims to bring users the look and feel of your favorite notebook, but for your iPad. My favorite part is how it actually connects via magnets instead of having a shell or a case to mount it. All you do is slap your iPad on the magnets to hold it sturdily in place. As you can see, my scientific shake test lets you know just how strong those magnets are. If you're looking for a tri-fold folio case that protects your iPad, can act as a stand and a canvas, is premium and lightweight, you definitely got to give this one a try. Click the first link in the description below to check it out. It really helps support the 9to5Mac channel. So thank you to Paperlike for partnering up with 9to5Mac, and now back to the video. Well, alright everyone, let's hop right into this video and start off with the brand new iPadOS 18 home screen. So the first thing that was changed is that we're now able to grab any app icon and move it anywhere onto the grid on the iPad screen. Now you still have to follow that normal grid, and it still kind of moves around automatically, some of these widgets and app icons, but for the most part you can put them anywhere on the grid that you see fit. Previously with iPadOS 17, we were able to do this with just the widgets, but now we can do it with the app icons. And then in that same light, you might notice that these widgets now have these little kind of pull tabs on the bottom right hand corner, and that's because you can actually rearrange the size of the widgets in real time on the home screen to make them large, medium, or small, depending on what the sizes are predetermined by that widget specifically. And then continue with the home screen, the edit button, if you tap it, you do have a brand new option called customize. So if we press the customize button, we now get this new little icon down here to let you determine different aspects of the home screen. So first and foremost, you have the ability to change it to a large icon, and you can notice here that the icons are a little bit larger. It doesn't take up any more or less grid space, so it's still the same amount of applications that fit on the dock and on the home screen, but the app icons are a little bit bigger, taking up a little bit more space, and you might notice that the actual names of the icons actually get moved and released. So like you can see the Bose icon here doesn't have the verbiage underneath it, but now it does. So if you go with a large, you can actually forego the app icon names and just go with larger icons. And then of course you are noticing that my icons are a different color, and that's because we now have the ability to go from light mode to dark mode with app icons. And you also notice that the home screen did get dimmer overall, which we'll touch on in a second, but Apple now allows you to go from light mode to dark mode on each individual app icons. I absolutely love the dark icons for both first party and third party applications, and now I want to say 99.9% of third party applications now have a dark mode icon as well. And then you can also set it to automatic, so now depending on time of day, it'll change it to dark icons whenever it is nighttime. And then the last customization piece is going to be this tinted feature. So basically what this does is that it takes one hue or one color from your wallpaper, so it'll look at your wallpaper, decide what the best color to go with would be, and then it's going to tint every single icon and every single widget in that same colorway. So you can see that it chose orange because it's based on the second half of my wallpaper, and then you can customize it how you see fit after that. So you can change the actual opacity of it, so I can go all the way to these white mode icons, which I also think look very cool, or you can go and change the color completely yourself. So if I wanted to go with maybe more of a blue hue, I can do that, and I can continue to change it, and you can see that it changes these icons in real time. And there's even a color picker tool, so if I tap on here, let's say I want to do more of a green color, and now all my icons are in this green hue, which I love to see. The last piece to notice is that when I do go from light mode to dark mode, the wallpaper actually goes into a darker mode as well, and you can actually change that. So if you want to stay with the dark mode icons but keep a lighter background, you can just tap this little sun button right here and it'll brighten up your screen a little bit. And one last new feature on the home screen specifically has to do with applications. If you long press on any application, you now have the ability to not only lock them via Face ID or Touch ID, but you can also hide them and add them to a hidden folder. So you can see here that you have a bunch of options. It even allows you to change the app into a widget straight from here. But if you press on this Require Face ID, you can press Require Face ID and it'll lock it behind your face. That means that now every time I want to open the news application, it'll require my Face ID to open. And then if I pick another application and I long press again, you can require Face ID. You also get the option to hide and require Face ID. So we'll tap on that, it'll give you the Face ID, it'll give you this prompt, we'll press Hide App. Now the app is gone, and if you go to your app library, you have a new hidden folder over here. Tap on there, it'll require Face ID, and you can see that I have a couple of apps like Affinity Photo and Sunsama here. And then to release it, you just long press on here, don't require Face ID, it'll ask you for the Face ID, and then you're able to then just add it normally. So I love to see this. So this is a brand new feature that came with iPadOS 18. And now let's get into the brand new Control Center. You might have seen it by me just tapping on here earlier, but Control Center got completely revamped with iPadOS and iOS 18. So first and foremost, you see that the icons look a little bit different. They're a little bit more circular and more bubbly. And the first thing I want to show off is that there is now a pagination with this UI. So before Control Center was stuck on this view, but now if you swipe down, you have an ability to add even more widgets, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Swipe down again, you have your now playing mode. So here you can control your music playing from the iPad itself, but you can also control any other speakers around the house. So if I tap on here, you know, I have my Sonos living room speakers, my HomePod, my Apple TV, all things that I can control. If you swipe down again, you now get all your shortcuts to your HomeKit application. So I have a bunch of HomeKit accessories that I can control from here. And then if you swipe down one more time, you have all your connectivity settings like airplane mode, AirDrop, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and any VPNs that you use. The next new feature in Control Center is, like I mentioned, the ability to add new Control Center icons. So you see this little plus sign up here. If you tap on here, you then have the ability to edit everything. So I can swipe down here, you can actually move them around, and they work the same way as the widgets did on the home screen itself. So I can move this Bluetooth button over here, and then I can pull on these little toggles to make the buttons a little bit bigger if I want to, or smaller. There's only one or two sizes for each one. It's not as customizable as the widgets, but still a nice addition to have. And then of course you have the new add a control button. So if I tap on here, you now have a slew of new opportunities and new icons that you can choose from if you need some quick connectivity, some display and brightness settings, HomeKit, notes, now playing, shortcuts, sounds, accessibility, utilities. Apple really went crazy with the amount of different things that you can add to your Control Center. So now your Control Center is much more customizable, and you can even move these around, which these have always been stagnant with Control Center, even in years past. And now you can literally grab this and move it all the way to the bottom if you want to. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess it up, but you have full customization of your Control Center. And then when you're done customizing it, you just tap anywhere and you're back to normal. And then lastly, you do have the ability to power off your iPad from Control Center. So you do have to hold down this little power button. So if you hold it down, it'll just go to the slide to power off, which is awesome to see. So now let's get into the Photos application and all the new changes that are coming. So if you click on the Photos application, this is how you're greeted with when it comes to the Photos application. Everything is now on one page. You no longer have the tab on the bottom to choose between different things. Everything is here. So you have your most recent photos kind of taking up the top half of it. And then on the bottom, you have all these new kind of pin collections and memories and different categories of how Apple's trying to present these photos to you, which I think actually looks really good. At first, it took me a second to get used to it, but now that I'm used to it, it is a lot easier to kind of function and move around and find what you want to. And what's nice about this, and some of the new things that came up here, are the utilities and the categories as well as the media types. So if you go into utilities, you have a few other ones like recently edited, recently viewed, recently shared, QR codes it'll look for, duplicates, handwriting stuff. So it kind of categorizes everything a little bit easier for you to be able to find it after the fact. You even have this new wallpaper suggestions, which I always think is funny. But then you have the ability to customize what's being shown to you and how it's being shown to you. So you can actually check stuff off and on if you want to. So I can uncheck that or recheck it if I want to and bring this back up if I want to. And you can rearrange it so maybe people and pets show up underneath, where under the featured photos with the albums, we'll press the X, and then you can see that things did get moved around, so you can customize how it's being shown to you. This Create a Memory Movie is an Apple Intelligence feature that will be available with 18.1. I am running the 18.1 beta, so it will not be available on your 18.0 devices. Just wanted to clarify that. Now, when it comes to editing an individual photo, you can see that this is a little bit different compared to what it was last year, but for the most part, everything has remained the same. The one big difference, at least for me personally, is the ability to now copy more than just the filters and decide what pieces of the edit you want to copy. So for instance, this has been cropped in, there's been a bunch of different filters added, so if I go into my ellipses and then go to copy edits, you can then decide what part of this edit you want to copy. You can copy just the filters, which is the adjustments, or the crop, or both, and you can also have the adaptive functionality, which automatically detects certain image conditions and adapts the adjustments to match the perceived exposure, white balance of this image if possible. So we'll press copy, and if I click on any other image, let's just grab this one for argument's sake, we'll press the ellipses, we'll press paste edits, and then it'll crop in for me, and then also apply all those different edits, and this actually came out kind of good. So that is everything new with the Photos app. I actually like this new interface. I will say it'll take you a second to get used to it, but once you do, it is a great looking feature. So next up with iPadOS 18, I wanted to bring up the Calculator application. So if you look up the Calculator app, this is a brand new application that's dedicated for the iPad. Now some of this stuff will work on iOS 18, but it's going to work best on the iPad itself, especially with the Apple Pencil. But first and foremost, we get a pretty traditional calculator here, so the normal amount, nothing too crazy. And then if you tap on this on the bottom left-hand corner, you have a couple options. So the next one is your scientific calculator, which is a little bit more robust. And again, you have your sine, your cosine, being able to take a square root or the cube root. So that's always great to see. And then the most important one, in my opinion, is going to be the brand new Math Notes application. So you can see right here, you are prompted with a brand new screen. We'll press continue. So this is the new interface for Math Notes, and this will work in the Notes application, which I'll show you soon. But as of right now, in the Math Notes itself, it does categorize based on when you were doing it. So if I want to open up a brand new one, it works just like the Notes application. We'll tap on here. We have our Apple Pencil. I'm using the Apple Pencil Pro. We'll go with the white one. Unfortunately, it only is in dark mode or in this black colorway for the background. In the regular Notes app, you can go with light mode or dark mode, but you essentially have a calculator that's able to recognize handwritten notes. So for instance, if I want to go with a 2 plus 2, and then it'll solve that for me, it'll automatically solve it as 4. But this works on the fly and in real time. So for instance, if I want to add a parentheses and maybe do a 4 here, so it multiplies by 4, it'll change that to 16. And then if I want to maybe divide by 4 as well, it should change it to 4 again. So on the fly, it's able to solve all these different variables, and you can get a little bit more complicated than that as well. So if I want to do 144 and take the square root of that, it should equal 12, and it does. And now if I want to add the parentheses and do it to the square root, it should equal 144, and it does. So you can see how quickly it does that, how on the fly it does that, and it works with pretty much any and all arithmetic. So any plus, minus, multiplication, and division, it'll be able to do that, and you can do it in multiple forms. For instance, if I want to do 8 divided by 2, it'll give me 4, but if I also want to do maybe 120 and then do like the long division form of it, it'll also give me the division of that, which did give me the wrong answer. I do not think that 120 divided by 4 is 33.466, but you get the idea that it's able to use long division as well as normal division to get the answer that you do want and get it correctly. But it doesn't stop there. For instance, if you want to graph something, it can actually do that in real time. So if you remember back in the day, I wish we had this back when I was in school, but if you do y equals 3x plus 4, it should give you an option to insert graph. We'll insert that graph, and then you can see that it does insert that graph perfectly. And then, for instance, if I want to do y equals x squared, which is a parabola, it'll then ask me to insert the graph or add it to an existing graph. So I can add it to this existing graph, and now you see that that parabola is there with that line. I think Math Notes is one of the most powerful things that Apple has done on the iPad, and they weren't wrong when they wanted to bring a real calculator app to the iPad that was special to the iPad. Now all this is viewable in iOS 18, and you can actually still use Math Notes in iOS 18, but of course it's much better with an Apple Pencil, and this is just the beginning of what's going to be able to be done. So now let's get into the Notes application, because the Notes application also got some new features. So here I've actually pre-written this out already, and basically what you can do in Apple Notes is define variables and solve for those variables. So you can see here that I'm kind of splitting a bill, this is how much Rick costs, John, everything like that. So now if I put in my total and I type in Rick, and then I do the plus sign, you can see that it gets highlighted with John. Another plus sign, we can then do Amanda. And let's say we want to just do with those three, we'll press enter, and then we'll type in total divided by 3. And then it'll actually total that out for you in real time. And then if I wanted to go back up here and then maybe add Iris, we'll do plus, and then we'll type in Iris. You can see that it changes that in real time as well. So I love this new variable setting feature that can be done in Apple Notes, and you can even do this with handwritten notes as well. Another new one in the Notes application is going to be voice memos and transcription. So if you scroll down anywhere, you go to the little paper clip, you now have the option to record audio, And if I wanted to record the audio, I can definitely do that. You record the audio, you talk a little bit, and then it'll save as a card in the Notes application. We'll press done, and you can see that it's right here. And you can see that it's being transcripted. But if you want another step of that, if you go back in here, add record audio, you press this little caption button, it'll actually start to transcribe what you're saying instead of the voice recording. So if I start to record what I'm saying, it'll start to kind of write down what I'm trying to say in text format, and then you can edit this text after the fact. And then of course you see this little summary button, which again, this is an Apple Intelligence feature. This will not be available with 18.0. It will be available with 18.1, but you press stop, you can actually press done, and then you can actually decide where to start from by tapping on here. If I wanted to go here, you can double tap, look it up. You're able to press the ellipses and rename it, add transcription to note, find the transcription, copy it, share the audio file, and then some. So I love this new transcription feature that's built directly into the Notes application. And then finally, one of my all-time favorites is going to be SmartScribe. So if I grab my Apple Pencil again, and basically what this does is if you have terrible handwriting, this is going to be the feature for you, because I do have terrible handwriting. And basically what it's going to do is if you start to write something like this, it'll auto change what that looks like by making the handwriting a little bit better. As you can see, it changed in real time. It took a second to figure out what it was doing, but this is going to be great for anybody that uses maybe collaboration in the Notes app and use a lot of handwriting, and maybe that handwriting isn't super legible. And what it does is it'll take that handwriting, make it more legible, but keep the essence of your handwriting. So, you know, my name is... Let's see how it fixes that, and you can see that it does keep everything. It still looks a little bit messy. It still looks like my handwriting. It just looks a little bit cleaner. A new addition to iPadOS and iOS is going to be the passwords application. So if you type in passwords, you get a brand new dedicated application. Now this stuff used to live inside of the settings app, but if you open up the passwords app, it's going to ask for your Face ID, of course, and then everything that revolves around your passwords and your passkeys and your Wi-Fi can all be done and managed through this application. I'm blocking out as much as I can here because obviously this is very sensitive info, but then also you're able to share your Wi-Fi password via a QR code, which is a new feature that wasn't around with iOS and iPadOS 18. So you can show your network with a QR code, somebody can scan that QR code, and then be able to jump on your Wi-Fi that easily. Another new feature is going to be in the Apple TV app. So if we go into the TV app, and then let's say you want to watch something like Ted Lasso, it'll start to play. And what's new about this is the new Insight feature. So if you tap on here, in real time, it'll let you know who's on the screen, what their names are, what their characters are, and then you can actually dive in a little bit deeper. So if I type in on here, it'll give you some more information on where else they're appearing on, right? Some guest appearances, where they've been producers, what other shows they're part of. So I like this new little feature as being able to find some stuff that wasn't there before. So FreeForm also got a brand new update, which again, Apple hasn't forgot about it totally. If you tap on here, a new feature that we got was going to be scenes. So if you go to the bottom left-hand corner, you actually have different scenes that you've created to kind of navigate this FreeForm canvas a little bit easier, because FreeForm is pretty much an infinite canvas. So if you zoom out, there's a bunch of other stuff that's being shown here. So if you want to quickly jump around into different sections that have maybe something in common, you click on here. Maybe I want to go to scene 7, it'll move me there, it'll even zoom in and zoom out. Maybe I want my math notes section over here. As you can see, it's going strong. So being able to use FreeForm and navigate it a little bit easier with this new scenes is a nice little feature. So one huge one that actually came to the Files application for iPadOS is going to be the ability to format SSDs. So you can see right here that I plugged in my LXR XSD, and what you do here is if you go to your LXR or any SSD that's plugged in, and then you pull up the options, if you press the erase button, and don't fear if you press the erase, it's not going to just erase it, but if you press the erase button, you are able to format it after the fact. So you can format it in APFS, exFAT, or MS-DOS as well. So being able to do that, clicking off whichever one you want, and then pressing erase is a huge one for people like myself that uses their iPad as their main computer and wants to be able to format things like an SD card or an SSD. Another new feature that came to iPadOS 18 is going to be GameMode. So if you open up a game, you'll see a little drop-down menu that pops up. As you can see it right here, it's GameMode, and basically what that does is kind of not only reduces notifications and distractions while playing a game, but also moves a lot of the power from the M4 chip or whatever chip is in your iPad to help with the game from a frames per second standpoint if you're playing something that's a little bit task intensive. For instance, this Retro Bowl game doesn't need too much when it comes to the power necessary to run this game, so it's not a huge deal, but for other games that people maybe are first-person shooters or something like an NBA 2K, it would require a little extra power, and now GameMode does that for you. And then finally, there are some health app changes. So if you go in here and type in the health application, you're able to now rearrange your most used or your favorited or pinned kind of cards over here when it comes to your stats for Health Kit. So if you want to edit this, you just press this edit button and you're able to move all these different ones over to the pin section if you have a bunch of favorite ones that you're able to customize. Also, a nice little tidbit, which you can't really control with iPadOS 18, but you can with iOS 18, is the ability to change your goals on a day-to-day basis when it comes to closing your rings or being able to meet your caloric, move, exercise, and standing goals. So maybe if you're somebody that works out Monday through Friday but likes to take the weekend off and you'd like to close your rings, you can change your goals on Monday through Friday to say maybe 700 calories versus on the weekends only like 400 calories because you don't really do much on the weekends. And that's something that, again, hasn't been around, so now you can, on a day-by-day basis, change your goals. And that will be most of the things that are new with iPadOS 18 for you to try out. Leave a comment down below what you think is your favorite one, but let's finish up this video. And that will just about do it for this video, everybody. Like you saw, there is an abundance of new features to your iPad with iPadOS 18, even though there's still no Apple Intelligence with this version, and that's still even going to give us more features after the fact. But some of my favorite features have to be the new math notes, the SmartScribe, the ability to customize your home screen almost unlimitedly now. Finally, Apple kind of released that grid. So let me know in the comment down below what your favorite feature was. Are some of these features things you're going to be using on a day-to-day, or are these more gimmicky and things that are just nice to have? Let me know in the comment down below, and also let me know if you did update to iPadOS 18 and if you plan to, and which iPad, because I'm always curious to know which iPads are out in the wild, how people use them, and if it's just kind of a leisure device or something that you use in a more professional setting. But that'll do it, everybody. If you made it to the end of this long video, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know that you made it to the end. And if you did make it to the end, then you might want to consider joining our channel membership to get some awesome wallpapers like the ones you saw in this video. But that'll do it, everybody. If you guys want to watch more videos like this one, click on one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy iPadOS 18 day. Peace, everybody.